The story begins in the depths of a dark cavern where the great evil dragon Ravandia slumbers. A little girl, Lingji, disturbs him and offers herself as a sacrifice so that he may help mankind fight against the army of the Demon King. But he is taken aback by the girl because he's a powerless and cowardly vegetarian dragon who has done nothing but grow over the last 5,000 years. The girl insists on how he's a commander of the Demon King and his strength is matched only by the Demon King himself. And she has nowhere to return to because her village sent her as a sacrifice, and in order to fulfill that role, she's even prepared to kill herself. Forced into a corner by his own guilt as he notices the girl's magical potential, he pretends as if he has eaten her soul as a sacrifice. This leads to her believing that she is his disciple now. The two ride to her village where the villagers are frightened at the sight of the revered beast. To hide his powerlessness, he puts on an act of an evil dragon, hoping to return the girl so that he can go back to living in the caves for a few centuries. A boy named Lai Iode suddenly charges at the dragon for devouring Lingji's soul, but he's stopped in his tracks by her. He cries because he was supposed to be the sacrifice, but she was sent in his stead. Suddenly, the village is attacked by a pack of dark wolves, and in no time they surround the dragon. Lingji steps up, and in belief that she's his disciple, the girl unleashes her magical power and slays the wolves in a few strokes. With his vast experience, he deduces that the girl might just be the most powerful wizard and scarier than any monster. The villagers throw a party to thank Ravandia, though he demands that Aode be brought in front of him immediately, so that he may clear the misunderstanding. But the boy is hopeless. He firmly believes that the dragon is evil for devouring his friend's soul. She is not so different because she believes that he wanted to steal her place as a sacrifice and a disciple. After she steals clothes from the boy's home, Lingji gets on the dragon's back and uses her magic to summon wings so that they may head for the Demon King immediately. And like this, he's unable to return her to the village. In order to avoid fighting, he coaxes her into looking for a town first so that they may join like-minded individuals before taking on their nemesis. She uses her clairvoyance to guide them to the city of Paleodonor. Upon arrival, they notice that the city is being attacked by monsters, and before even landing, they are ambushed by the flying monsters and terrified city defenders. Lingji fires an immense amount of magic and obliterates them. The general of the city, Ai Lianti, introduces herself and asks the pair for help after seeing their strength. On her master's orders, she quickly takes flight to take care of the flying monsters. He also advises Ai to defeat the boss of the monsters first because that will disperse the rest, and she heeds. Later, he asks Lingji to rest and she ends up sleeping beside him. Tears drip down her face as she dreams about her father, but her master's presence comforts her. Later, with the boss defeated, the general thanks the dragon for his advice. As the girl sleeps, he admits to the general that she's not his disciple and he's not a commander of the Demon King, because in reality, he's weak. But she finds it hard to believe that a human child has such immense magic, though she warns him that if it is indeed her power, she may someday get devoured by it and turn into a real evil dragon. She also asks why he is betraying the Demon King, and when he is unable to answer, she reveals she is a general in the Demon King's army and attacks him. The sleeping Lingji awakens and protects her master, but she gets pushed back by the general because of the former's lack of sword skills, and with a single strike, the general defeats her. She then goes on to beat the dragon to see if he retaliates. Seeing how weak he is, she stops and admits that she was just testing him to see if he would counter, and her being a part of the Demon King's army was a lie. She also advises him not to tell anyone that he's weak, because he has the second highest bounty in the world, just below the Demon King himself. Realizing he has to stay with the girl for the sake of protecting himself, whether he likes it or not, he agrees to convince her the fight with Ai was a dream. The next day, Lingji wakes up and is shocked to see her master shrunken down in size. Unable to explain how the general was the one who forced him to drink a rejuvenating potion so he doesn't stand out because of his size, the dragon masterfully comes up with a reason that hardly makes sense. But the innocent disciple wholeheartedly believes him. And after getting some gear from the general, the two once again set off on their journey. After the two had left the city, Lai Iode arrives and inquires about the evil dragon, but suddenly a loose stone block falls on him, though he's saved by General Ai. Impressed by her strength, he asks her to accept him as a disciple. Thus begins his hellish training, but the boy bears with all the hardships in order to save Ling Ji from the grasps of the evil dragon. Elsewhere, the odd master-disciple pair of a dragon and human encounter a trio of bandits. The dragon urges his disciple not to attack them. He tries to talk his way out of the situation, but the greedy bandits are adamant about selling them both on the black market. Annoyed by their bickering, he orders Ling Ji to give their leader a nudge, but that nudge is enough to send him flying. Terrified by her strength, the bandits submit and take them to the cave where they have imprisoned the slaves. Upon arrival, Ravendia notices a second cave nearby. He orders his disciple to take the imprisoned slaves to the nearby town. With her gone, he enthusiastically heads into the second cave, but falls into a hole and upon opening his eyes finds a skeleton laying in front of him. If this wasn't terrifying enough, a dark spirit emerges from nothingness. Terrified by the spirit, he starts running frantically and walks into a trap. There he notices that the spirit is actually trying to protect him from the trap, which calms him down. Not only does it save him, but it also offers him food to feast on, fruits and leaves as he likes, of course. The spirit explains that he was once the god of hunting who taught humans to hunt, but once humans no longer needed him, he was slowly forgotten and has been alone for centuries, unable to leave this hole, because he can only leave after he teaches someone how to hunt. Feeling bad for the god, he asks it to teach him hunting. Despite being adamant on the fact that he's a useless dragon, the deity claims that it can teach him hunting in just 3 hours. Thus, the first lesson, physical training, starts. The god asks him to do 200 sit-ups, but to his surprise, the dragon is unable to even lie down properly. Not planning to give up, the god asks him to balance himself over a log and cross a ravine for their second lesson, balance training. But the dragon's weight is too much for the log and he falls down several times. He continues to fail every lesson from archery to pull-ups, even combat against a rabbit. It's nightfall now. Dejected at his failure, the god still wants his disciple to be strong. And, as a last resort, it grants him a spell that strengthens his claw before returning back to the cave. He falls asleep until Ling Ji returns the next day and reports she found another city called Selianen, a big, peaceful place protected by a saint. She exclaims that he must control it before invading the Demon King, though the dragon only wants to find an inn to stay. The two soon reach Selianen, but she notices a barrier around the city and the presence of the one who cast it, the Saint of the Water. Suddenly, the voice of the saint calls out to the evil dragon Ravendia. She warns him not to enter the city. Even after he tries to explain himself, the saint rejects him, although the voice suddenly cuts off and the barrier vanishes. Apparently, it was Ling Ji who scared the saint for disrespecting her master with her magic power. The two then enter the city, but the citizens are scared after seeing a dragon, even one the size of a dog. They put on an act that the two are part of a traveling circus, which somehow works. One of the citizens explains to them that Selianen used to be a desert, but the saint made an oasis in that barren land and slowly people started to settle here. That settlement is the Selianen we know today. After hearing the story, the pair head to an inn. The dragon orders Ling Ji to stay in the room while he goes and clears up the misunderstanding with the saint. Meanwhile, the saint is hiding in a glass of water at a tavern, scared of the evil dragon, and to her surprise, a thirsty dragon appears wanting to drink the water. Even more terrified, the saint moves from water to water all over the city, but a thirsty dragon always follows her. The day passes, the dragon is now both hungry and thirsty. A group of children spot him and offer him fruits, but the saint thinks he means to eat the children and leaps to defend them. He exclaims to her that he just wants to go back to the inn. Upon hearing this, the saint thinks of it as a bargaining ploy and agrees to take her back to his inn if he spares the city. She takes him to the inn and the dragon reminds her to put the barrier back up around the city. Now back at the inn, he's happy to see Ling Ji still in the room. He asks her to go play with the children in the city tomorrow, although she's more preoccupied thinking that the saint is actually a demon who's able to manipulate water and mud. But the dragon ignores the fact because the saint is a good girl, and without a worry, the two fall asleep. Outside the city, an actual evil dragon and a creature, calling it Shadow for convenience, both loyal to the Demon King, notice that the barrier is weakened and decide to attack the city tomorrow. The next morning, the saint, disguised as a maid, tries to coax the Revendia into leaving the city sooner. But when she serves him rotten fruits, it makes Ling Ji angry, causing the spirit to flee in fear when she is attacked by her. The master gets angry at her pupil, scolding her for wasting food and recklessly using her power. Seeing her sad face, he asks her to go and play with the children in the city. But once she leaves, he heads to the saint to once again clear the misunderstanding. But he's trapped underwater in a water dimension by her as she tries to drown him. Meanwhile, Ling Ji is confused when the children inquire her about her small, cute dragon because she thinks of her master as big and strong. This causes her to believe that there's another small and cute dragon, and she starts looking for it so they can play. Suddenly, the city is attacked by the evil dragon, and she approaches him thinking that he's the one. The evil dragon accepts her invitation to play and prepares for a duel, but she lifts him up and throws him like a ball. Then she grabs him by the tail, flinging him around and smacks him on the ground. The shockwave from her fight is felt even by the saint, and it disrupts her spell for drowning the dragon. Both fall, but Revendia is saved thanks to the magical claws he got from God of Hunting, which changes its shape and lifts him out of the saint's ocean spell. When he tells the saint that she really is a disciple of the Demon King, she gets frustrated and uses all her power to trap him in a water cage that absorbs his magic. Fortunately, this spell also absorbs the effects of the rejuvenating potion, causing him to grow back to his original size, which leads to the two being tossed back to Selianen through a portal. The saint cries, thinking that she has failed in her duties to protect the city. But the dragon disputes her thoughts by reminding her that she has protected the city despite being a demon and has earned the title of the saint. Hearing this rejuvenates her, and she heads to protect the city once again, but suddenly freezes in her tracks as a grasshopper possessed by Shadow lands on her head, and she starts exuding dark energy. She is possessed by Shadow, and it starts reminding the girl of her dark past, causing her to revert to her demon state. She exclaims her desire to make humanity suffer and releases her mud and water magic. But instead of being scared by the saint's spell, the citizens thank her for providing them fertile soil for the year and start celebrating. Infuriated by that, she prepares a gigantuous sphere of mud. But the dragon calls for his disciple, and Ling Ji shoots through the mud ball, making it rain mud. The saint starts crying at her uselessness and reminisces about when she was a part of the Demon King's army. The rest considered her weak and made fun of her, hence she left the army and started wandering around to find something that can help prove her strength. While in a desert, she found a group of starving humans, and thinking that if she made an example out of them, the rest would accept her. She cast her water magic, but instead of being scared, they were thankful to her for giving them water and fertile soil. Since then, the people worshipped her as a saint. In the present, Revendia is worried about the saint's identity crisis. He asks her to look around and see the humans she has helped, so she should see herself for what she has done, not for who she is. This causes Shadow to lose control over her, but still wanting to bring destruction to humans, he drifts into the dragon's body and tries to possess him. The end, for now.